behind the curtain of China's tech hype lies are a bunch of false achievements propped up by state propaganda. The CCP trumpets fanciful claims of leadership in fields like AI, 5G, and quantum computing. But scratch the surface, and one finds a wasteland of stagnation, dependence, and stifled innovation. China's supposed AI anchors are revealed as mere puppets with canned animations. Its quantum computer falls flat with only 66 qubits compared to 127 in the US. The nation spends over $400 billion each year importing semiconductors while its own chip fabrication remains stuck in the Stone Age. Made in China 2025 has been an abject failure, with foreign reliance barely budging after 8 years and billions spent. No number of orchestrated breakthroughs can cover up the systemic lack of talent and data access retarding China's progress. Until the CCP stops valuing control above all else, any idea of China surpassing the US as a tech superpower will remain a pipe dream built on delusions instead of capabilities. AI, more artifice than intelligence. Artificial intelligence is one of the most hyped technologies to come out of China in recent years. The country aims to become the world leader in AI by 2030, and the industry could be worth $150 billion to its economy. However, behind the smokescreen lies a severe lack of true innovation. In 2019, Chinese tech firm Huawei unveiled its AI assistant called Xi'an at the World Mobile Congress. Xi'an conversed on stage with Huawei representatives in English and Thai, amazing the audience. But later it was revealed that Xi'an was in fact just a woman hidden backstage, dubbed AI Booth Babe. This incident revealed the stark gap between China's AI hype and reality. Xi'an was supposed to showcase Huawei and China's AI capabilities to the world, but utterly failed to convince anyone. Another much-touted example is China Daily's AI digital employee named Xi'an. She is the face of the newspaper's video segments aimed at promoting Chinese culture globally. However, a closer look reveals Xi'an to be a rudimentary computer-animated puppet. Her stilted speech and movements clearly suggest canned animations as opposed to anything generated by true AI. This supposed AI anchor is in fact no more advanced than a talking avatar from 1990s IM clients. Yet just last month, China Daily described her as a cutting-edge AI virtual being. Earlier in 2022, state broadcaster CCTV also debuted an AI presenter called Xi'an to cover the Beijing Winter Olympics. But Xi'an's poorly synced speech and dated 3D graphics gave away the lack of any real AI. Like Xi'an, she appeared to be simplistic computer animations at best. Another much-touted AI project in China is Ernie, developed by search engine firm Baidu. Ernie is a large language model similar to ChatGPT, built to understand Chinese text. However, tests reveal that Ernie relies heavily on translating Chinese into English and vice versa, lacking any deep understanding of the Chinese language. Its output is amusing but nonsensical for native Chinese speakers. Once again, the hype surrounding Ernie as a breakthrough Chinese AI falls flat when faced with its rudimentary capabilities. The fundamental issue is that true AI requires massive datasets to learn from, which China lacks. The Chinese government maintains tight control over data through internet censorship and restrictions. This results in Chinese AI researchers not having access to the massive data required to develop true machine learning and intelligence. Instead, much of what passes for AI in China relies on mimicry, crudely emulating human conversation and behavior through scripts rather than learning. This results in unconvincing and flawed AI like Xi'an and Xi'an. Without open access to data, China cannot hope to match AI innovation in the West. No matter how much the CCP wants to hype Chinese AI, the reality will continue to fall far short. 5G. Speedy propaganda. Another major tech area where China hype clashes with reality is 5G. Chinese state media has bombarded the public with a fire hose of propaganda about China's 5G leadership. The CCP aims to establish China as a 5G superpower that leaves the rest of the world in the dust. World's first 5G highway. 5G remote surgery, 5G transforming factories. From reading the headlines, one would imagine 5G has revolutionized every facet of Chinese industry and society. Reality check: 5G is just a telecom standard, the next step up from 4G. It provides faster mobile connectivity, higher bandwidth, and lower latency. While 5G has useful applications, it is not magical pixie dust that can transform everything it touches. Yet, looking at Chinese propaganda, you would be forgiven for believing 5G to be a wonder technology straight out of science fiction. Some of the outlandish claims include IBB abuses that never hit traffic through intelligent routing, 5G drones that can inspect power lines without human pilots, 5G tractors that operate autonomously through advanced AI, underwater 5G networks for high-speed submarine communications. A closer scrutiny reveals most of these to be outright falsehoods or fanciful exaggerations by CCP propagandists. Take the example of the much-touted 5G autonomous tractor. Its supposed capabilities came from a 3D model purchased for just $7 online, hardly the smart farming revolution proclaimed by state media. The reality is China is desperately trying to establish leadership in 5G and leapfrog ahead of the West. But it lacks the foundational innovation in core 5G technologies like antennas, chips, and base stations. Instead, companies like Huawei undercut foreign competitors by up to 70% in international bids. They can afford to do so due to heavy state subsidies and support. This has allowed Chinese telecom firms to rapidly roll out 5G networks domestically and overseas. However, the quality and capabilities of these networks continue to lag behind rivals like Nokia and Ericsson. Most of the 5G success claimed by China is down to selective deployment and propaganda rather than any technological breakthroughs. Behind the 5G hype lies growing problems faced by China's telecom providers. The high costs of running 5G networks and insufficient demand for 5G services remain roadblocks. In the long run, the blitz of 5G propaganda cannot cover up China's lack of innovation in core 5G hardware and software technologies. Quantum computing, not so supremacy. Quantum computing is one more horizon where China is desperate to establish its supremacy. The country has poured billions of dollars into quantum research, aiming to overtake the U.S. as the global leader. In 2020, China claimed a major breakthrough by achieving quantum supremacy. State media proclaimed China's quantum computer called Xi'an as millions of times faster than all supercomputers. Surely this meant China had beaten everyone to the ultimate goal of quantum computing. Alas, it was more rushed hype than real achievement. Quantum supremacy refers to a quantum computer able to solve problems that classical computers cannot. But China had misused the term, applying it loosely to any speed advantage shown by a quantum computer. Xi'an was only tested on specific tasks like Gauss boson sampling, instead of real applications. Experts called out China for careless and misleading claims of supremacy. The computer was not truly revolutionary, but an incremental advance at best. In fact, China continues to lag behind the U.S. significantly in the quantum race. Its scientists cannot build the high-quality qubits that underlie quantum computing. The best quantum device in China today has a measly 66 quids, while systems in the U.S. go up to 127 quids already. Without the ability to make high-fidelity qubits, China has no hope of making commercially viable quantum computers. Its current noisy and error-prone devices are a long way from supporting useful applications. Rather than chasing after flashy but hollow milestones, China would do better to invest in fundamental research and development. Real quantum supremacy will require major improvements in qubit quality, error correction, and scalability, but the CCP favors propaganda cups over long-term progress, continuing the pattern of hype over substance. Made in China 2025, dominance or dependence? The Made in China 2025 plan is one of the CCP's crown initiatives announced in 2015. It aims to transform China from the world's factory into an advanced manufacturing leader. The goal is to reach 40% self-sufficiency across many tech fields, including robotics, biotech, and aviation. After years of subsidies and support, state media trumpets huge progress made towards technology independence. But the reality is that China struggles to make key components in vital fields like semiconductors, commercial aircraft, and medical devices. For instance, the CCP touts Chinese chipmaker SMIC as demonstrating its semiconductor progress, but SMIC remains stuck making 28-nanometer chips, 2 generations behind TSMC's cutting-edge 5-nanometer chips. Due to lack of indigenous innovation, Chinese firms rely heavily on imported chip-making equipment and manufacturing software. Another major state project is the C919 domestic airliner, positioned as the answer to Boeing and Airbus. After 13 years in development, the C919 finally debuted in 2022 and lags at least a decade behind its rivals. The aircraft depends extensively on foreign components, including the critical engine and avionics. Similar issues pervade other high-tech sectors China is desperate to conquer. Dependence on imported technology and inability to truly innovate. Made in China 2025 is failing to reduce reliance on foreign suppliers across the board. The flawed top-down approach cannot compensate for the systematic lack of R&D capacity and talent. Ultimately, the CCP's wishful projection of progress under Made in China 2025 masks chronic weaknesses not acknowledged openly. Unless China transitions to a free market economy that encourages risk-taking and innovation at the grassroots, dependence on the West will continue indefinitely. Internet. Fallacy of Chinese self-sufficiency. The Chinese internet stands separate from the rest of the global internet due to the Great Firewall. The CCP has long pitched this cyber balkanization as enabling self-sufficiency and technological sovereignty. But the ongoing audit and clampdown on Chinese tech giants reveals the hollowness of the Splinternet ambition. Regulators found serious data security flaws even in giants like Alibaba and Tencent. This led to overhauls and policy shifts to gain greater control over user data. Far from being secure or self-sufficient, China's walled garden internet has proven illusory. Freedoms required for true innovation were sacrificed in pursuit of the Splinternet, and the outcomes still fail to satisfy the Chinese government when scrutinized in detail. Without secure foundations, China's internet cannot hope to become truly technologically independent or compete globally. No amount of censorship, surveillance, and control can compensate for a lack of accountability, talented personnel, and positive incentives. The freedom-stifling Splinternet approach has led to a huge brain drain as the brightest Chinese minds abandon the repressive system for the West. Coupled with demographic decline, China faces a growing talent crunch that undermines its high-tech ambitions. The fundamental disconnect lies in the CCP wanting the outputs of an open society while maintaining authoritarian control. Unfettered access to information and the ability to take risks are essential to technological advances. China's Splinternet cuts off these critical preconditions for innovation. Chips, the Achilles heel. Semiconductors form the bedrock on which all modern technology is built, powering everything from smartphones to satellites. But China relies heavily on foreign suppliers for the lion's share of advanced chips used in electronics. It spends over $300 billion a year importing integrated circuits, concentrated in Malaysia, South Korea, and Taiwan. Multiple state initiatives seek to expand China's chip-making capabilities and reduce this strategic weakness, but chips remain an Achilles heel due to several fundamental roadblocks. Firstly, Chinese firms lack the capabilities for manufacturing leading-edge semiconductors below 10-nanometer size. SMIC can only manage 14-nanometer fabrication, while TSMC already produces 3-nanometer chips. The advanced lithography equipment required remains out of reach for Chinese foundries. Secondly, China does not have indigenous electronic design automation software for chip design. Companies depend critically on tools from American firms like Cadence and Synopsys. Loss of access to such technology can cripple Chinese semiconductor progress. Lastly, chip making requires an entire ecosystem of specialized supporting businesses. These include software, testing verification, equipment maintenance, and material suppliers. China lacks most of these complementary pieces in the chip-making puzzle. Key bottlenecks across semiconductor technology, talent, and supporting supply chains. China's chip ambitions face stiff headwinds, and the prognosis will only worsen with tightening export controls on critical semiconductor tools and components. Despite multi-billion-dollar state efforts, China will stay dependent on foreign chips well into the foreseeable future. Spaceflight. Falling back to Earth. Another high-tech domain central to China's aspirations is aerospace. In 2021, China completed its own space station called Tiangong after being excluded from the International Space Station. It also landed a rover on Mars, aiming to equal NASA feats. On the surface, China's space program appears rapidly ascending and on par with the US now, but its progress is neither as smooth nor as sustainable as proclaimed. Beneath the glossy facade lie familiar deficiencies. During 7 space station is itself an inferior derivative of the Russian Mir station from the 1990s. China's Mars rover weighs just 240 kilograms compared to NASA 900 kilogram Perseverance. The limited payload reflects China's continued difficulties with heavy-lift rockets. Lack of innovation plagues China's space sector despite huge funding. Retired NASA Administrator Charles Bolden notes, "They are still a long way from matching what we were able to accomplish back in the 1960s. The recent growth owes more to technology transfer and incremental engineering than real breakthroughs." A major impediment has been lack of private enterprise and entrepreneurial talent, which NASA benefited greatly from. China's space tech remains firmly controlled by state behemoths like CASIC and CALT. This bureaucratic approach stifles the innovation essential to leapfrog the space leaders. As 2023 begins, storm clouds may be gathering over China's space program. The CCP's strict zero-COVID policy has started impacting production at key space contractors. Continued lockdowns risk derailing rocket, satellite, and space station assembly timelines. See, the outsized publicity given to every Chinese space achievement creates a false equivalency with the US. In reality, NASA retains a healthy lead over CNSA or China National Space Administration in space technology and innovation. As with other domains, substance lags far behind presentation. China's technological house of cards collapses upon inspection. Its tall tales of achievements wilt in the light of scrutiny. No quantum leap or AI miracle can compensate for the rot at the core of its high-tech ambitions. Innovation is impossible when the truth is subordinate to the party and conformity prized above creativity. The CCP has proven itself capable of impressive technological theater through smoke and mirrors, but incapable of nurturing real progress. Its model of authoritarian control has birthed a dysfunctional Frankenstein's monster, not a tech utopia. Until political chains are broken, the Chinese tech industry will remain an empty shell, no matter how shiny the outer veneer. The CCP's propaganda is world-class, but its tech accomplishments remain third-rate. China's dreams of surpassing the West will be swept into the dustbin of history, buried under the weight of its self-inflicted illusions.